Okay, can you tell me a little bit about yourself today?
Yeah, my name is Cornelius. I'm 45 years old, and I recently went into full kidney failure back in February, March of this year after I'd had COVID twice. My kidneys finally shut down, and I was at the U of A hospital for a couple of weeks, and I woke up to being on dialysis. They had tubes in my chest and had me hooked up to a machine for the first time ever in my life.
And that started this year? When this year?
My full kidney failure started in February, March of this year. I had caught COVID, the first COVID back in October, and I'm not vaccinated. And my doctors told me not to get vaccinated. They were concerned with my kidney failure that it would make it worse. So I was told not to get vaccinated. And in doing that, came down with COVID. But even with my condition and my body condition, I managed to make it through. And then I became positive for Omicron in February. And when I became positive for Omicron, I went back into the U of A hospital. And at that point, that was when my kidneys finally gave out 100%. My body began to shut down.
So the tubes you have for dialysis, why did they install it in that location?
I've had so many abdominal surgeries. The surgeon that came down to look at me did a couple ultrasounds and x-rays and everything on my stomach, and due to the massive amounts of surgeries that I've currently had done on my body, I was not allowed to do peritoneal dialysis. So I am in a waiting game now with the company called Access, which does the tubes and such inside your arm with a fistula. But because of the pandemic, that's backed up by about a year, maybe not longer. So we're just a waiting game, so I maintain the tubes inside my chest.
How has your body reacted to the dialysis since you started?
Dialysis was absolutely terrible. From the very get-go, the hospital that I was at killed me 5 times on the table, legit, 100% dead, and was woken back up with paddles, and was told they couldn't understand what was going on, when in reality what was going on was I was severely allergic to a drug called tanzapine, which is a synthetic blood thinner. So I've had prior blood thinners before many times in my life and never ever had issues with them, but they switched over to this new one and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So it was a very trying time for the first beginning. A month in, they were still trying to run me for 4 hours, a couple days every week, and my head felt like it was going to explode. My doctors told me that my body was rejecting dialysis, and so now for the last month, they've shortened up my sessions to 2 hours a session, and I go a couple days a week, and I managed to leave the hospital now without severe migraines. I was put in horrible positions, migraines that you couldn't even believe, puke all over the wall, mess myself, do everything like that, and then get knocked out and then wake back up hours later not knowing what was going on. Woke up in emergency numerous times. The nurses didn't know what to do with me, and the dialysis ward that's out this way shuts down at 10:30 at night. So once I was breaching past 10:30, they didn't have space for me, so they just moved me over to emergency, and emergency would look after me until I would wake up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and then I could go home after that.
What's the timeliness on a transplant and recovery if you can get one?
According to Alberta doctors, they say that you've got to be 3 months pretty much work stress-free, everything like that, before you could even consider getting a transplant. And then if I was to get one, it would be a 3 to 6 month recovery time frame afterwards. And then currently in Alberta right now, the waiting list is between 3 to 5 years. And I was told by both renal doctors at the University Hospital, level of deterioration in my body from the diabetes is so severe that they said if I didn't have a transplant within the next year to 2 years, I most likely would not survive the surgery. So they're trying to get something sorted out for me as fast as possible. However, it's just a waiting game and there's not much we can do about it.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us today?
Other than my company, my dogs, my life, I've never given up on anything, and I have no desire to give up now. I just want to be able to move forwards with life and find a way to keep going. And unfortunately, there's no government grants. There's nothing that anybody can get when you're self-employed. When you're employed, it makes no difference. The doctors look at you and just assume that you can go down for 6 months, 8 months, a year, not work, and go on AISH and go on the system. And I have no desire to do that. I've been a worker my entire life. I've had my company for 20 years plus, and I love what I do. So being able to get up and go to work every day is what keeps me alive. Without that, I don't know if I'd still be here. So this is just a way to try and be able to afford what I need to have done and be able to take the time for myself to be able to recover properly so that when I come back, I can come back better than I ever was before.
That makes sense. Well, thank you for taking the time to share this with us today, Derek. And we wish you the best.
Thank you very much.